On this week's episode of A Drier Dose of Disney, Jared updates his Orlando rope drop strategies for all 4 Disney parks and 2 Universal parks.
Welcome to this week's episode of A Drier Dose of Disney. I'm your host, Jared Dreyer, and today we are going to be doing an update on one of our series of our most popular episodes that we've done, which are our rope drop episodes. So if you have listened to us for a while, or even if you haven't, you can go back in time and listen to those. But I'm going to tell you today, we're going to update the rope drop episodes for all of Orlando in one episode. So this is going to be a great episode. It's going to give you a ton of information. And you're definitely going to want to listen to this one if you're headed down to the Orlando theme parks. We are going to go through each and every single one of those. But before we do that, I do want to ask, wherever you're listening to us, or if you're watching us on YouTube, you can click pause and find that subscribe button. And that way you're going to get this content delivered into your inbox as we release episodes. We currently are on a series of 5 new episodes that we're doing over the next few weeks, including our update about Epic Universe and reviewing Epic Universe and all the great foods, and a rope drop strategy for Epic Universe as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that today. But in short, you're going to want to subscribe so that way you can get access to all of this great content as it comes out. In addition to that, we do ask if there are any tips or tricks that have saved you time or money. You can support the show down in the links below through Patreon. And at our top level there, we do have our biggest tip or trick for any of the Disney parks. So that is a great level to contribute at so that you can get access to that biggest tip or trick that we have ever done. And it's a great way also to support the show and say thank you for the show. And then finally, we have a condo down in Orlando. So if you want to stay at the magical place, the Drier Dose of Disney condo resort down there, it's only a few miles from the park. You can find the links to our Vrbo and Airbnb down below. And it's a great 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and we love staying down there. It's our home away from home, but you can share in that as well and get access to the same place we stay. So you're definitely going to want to check that. But let's talk about rope drop strategy. So I want to make sure as listeners and as a podcast, we're all getting on the same page as to not only what rope drop is, but its purpose, right? So of course, rope drop is the time in the morning when the parks all open up. And you want to be the first in line. You want to be the first to go in and the first to do all of the cool things that you can do at the park. So you want to be there for what we call rope drop. And this is traditionally the cast members will walk with a rope or have a rope up that is keeping you out of certain areas of the park. And then they will drop that and walk with you. And of course, you don't want to run, but they're going to walk with you to the marquee rides and make sure that you form a proper line and that no one's pushing and shoving and trying to get there. So if you're there for rope drop, typically your wait time is going to be a lot shorter because you're going to be towards the front of the huge pack of people, the huge herd of people. A lot of people like to rope drop the big marquee rides, the biggest ones, the coolest, newest ones. And that is a great strategy. And we've talked about that in our other rope drop episodes. Today, I'm actually going to change gears on you a little bit because we have found through all of our rides and going to all the parks through the years that there are some better strategies out there. So we're going to outline those for you today. But the goal is obviously to have the shortest waits and get the most rides in. Now, our goal as we go through this strategy for you today for each of the parks is we want to get you to the shortest wait times throughout the entire day. So we're not just looking at the biggest ride first thing in the morning, maybe cutting your wait time in half. We are talking about what does your whole day look like and how much time are you going to be spending waiting in all of the lines, and can we make that shorter for you overall for the day? And I can tell you that when my family and I go, we go to every single park multiple times. We love to hit them all, and we do all the rides, and we have a great time. And we're traditionally done pretty early in the afternoon or around dinner time. And so I can tell you that we have been very successful at hitting every single ride in the park that we want to. And of course, there may be a ride or two that you don't want to do or that we don't want to do, but we will hit all of the big rides. We will hit all the fun rides and make sure that gets accomplished every time we go. And in fact, even at Universal, we will do that through 2 parks in one day, still in that same time frame. So we're giving you guys the biggest tips and tricks on how to do that. Now, what I mean by throughout the whole day is, and I have an example here for you. So let's say you're going to Magic Kingdom. That's the park most people are familiar with. They know what rides are there. You've got, obviously, your really long waits are going to be Tron Light Cycles, which is new, as well as Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. However, in the morning, you may find shorter lines at some of your other medium-sized rides. Let's call them medium-sized. You may find shorter lines there then. Later, when you go to the bigger rides like Tron, the wait's no different than when you first got there at Rope Drop, right? So let's say you got there at Rope Drop, you're in the front of the line, and it's a 120-minute wait. It may take you 60 minutes to get through that if you're at Rope Drop, so if you're towards the front. And that's if you don't have early park access, and we're going to talk about that as well as we go through this. But let's say your wait time, it's posted at 120, you feel really good. It's probably only going to be 60 because you were at the front of the Rope Drop. Later in the day at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, the wait time may only be 60. So we're saying, hey, that's a wash. That's the same amount of time. But at the opening of the park, Haunted Mansion or Jungle Cruise may be a 5-minute wait. And now at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, it's a 45-minute. Are you better going and doing the 5-minute rides early in the day rather than waiting 45 later when your wait time is going to be the same everywhere else? So that's really the strategies that we're looking at as we go through these parks. And I will give you split strategies based on if you're staying on resort and you get early access and if you're not. The majority of people don't stay on resort, in fact, down there in Orlando. So the majority of people are going to be following the same Rope Drop strategy we do with my family because we stay at our condo, obviously off site. But for the Rope Drop people that are there on resort, we're going to give you that strategy as well. Okay. So this is going to be for both sides. So with that, let's dive right on in, and we're going to go through a reverse order. Everybody really wants to listen to the Disney side of it. And so we're going to start with Universal today and get that out of the way. And then we'll go through the Disney parks. Now, I also want to throw out there to you that we do have 2 I Can Do This All Day tips of the day for you at the end of this episode. So you're definitely going to want to listen to that and stay tuned because these are very important. These are going to help shorten your wait throughout all the parks and on every single ride that you're going to do. Let's go to Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure. And specific to Epic Universe, we're going to do an episode solely just on Epic Universe. So you're going to want to tune into that one since it's its own park and we're reviewing it for the very first time. We are only going to be covering Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure for the Universal parks on this one. But we like to do those 2 parks together. We found that we were able to accomplish both parks within one day very easily. And so our Rope Drop strategy is if you are on site, so if you do get early park admittance, you want to be there at least 30 minutes early prior to Rope Drop, meaning if your Rope Drop time is 8 or 8:30 in the morning, you want to be there at 7:30 to 8. You want to be there at least 30 minutes early so you can get through security. They sometimes let you in through the turnstiles, and that way you can get to the place where they're going to let you through. We highly recommend if you are on site, you want to hit Islands of Adventure first. Of course, that's the only park that allows the early entry. Universal Studios does not. And you're going to head straight for Hagrid's Motorbike. This is in the Harry Potter world, and it is one of the longest lines you're going to see all day. But if you have early access, you're not going to have many people in that line. So you're going to want to go to Hagrid's, hit that first thing in the morning. And then as soon as you come off of Hagrid's, which shouldn't take you too long, maybe 15 to 20 minutes, you are still ahead of the traditional Rope Drop for the standard guests. So then we're going to tell you immediately following that, you're going to want to go over to the Velocicoaster, which isn't too far away, and knock that one out because that one's also going to be a longer wait time as compared to your other rides. From there, once you've done those 2, then I tell you, you can make your way through the rest of Islands of Adventure at your leisure. You can hit any rides that you want to. We do encourage you to use single rider at that park. That's a great park to do it at. But once you're done with Islands of Adventure, you can make your way over to Universal Studios and then start doing that as well. Or you can take the Hogwarts Express to get over there and do Universal. Now, for those of you that are not on resort, which this is my group, what we recommend is when you get there, again, you're going to want to get there at least 30 minutes before the Rope Drop time so you can get through security. And I can tell you 9 times out of 10, they're going to let you in through the turnstiles before that time. So you're going to be able to get in and start making your way through the park. But what we do is we go to the Universal Studio side and we start on the Minions ride. So the Minions Mayhem ride, that one's going to be the absolute longest wait time in that park. In fact, we've ridden it enough. That's one that we typically skip, but we will go do the new Minions Blasters game and the Villain Con and do that. That's a lot of fun. And then we will go to the Mummy and we will work our way clockwise through the park, starting at Minions, going to the Mummy, and then around to the Harry Potter ride, and then back over to E.T. and hitting all those. And then once we're done, we will walk over to Islands of Adventure because it's much quicker than waiting for the train. And then we obviously try to do whatever rides over at Islands of Adventure that we can, utilizing single rider whenever it's available. So those are our rope drop strategies based on early entry or standard entry at Universal Studios. Let's go to Disney now. We're going to work in reverse order just to keep you guys on the hook. And in reverse order, we're going to start with Animal Kingdom. Now, this rope drop strategy has not changed. This is the same strategy we gave you on the original episode, and I really want to highly encourage you to follow it. This is by far one of the most important rope drop parks, meaning if you follow the crowd and you go to Flight of Passage at Pandora, which is the best ride in that park, and we love it, hands down, it's the best ride, you are going to get stuck in what we like to call the mob, the crowd, as it moves through the park, meaning that you're going to have maybe a 45-minute to an hour-long wait for Flight of Passage. But when you come off, you're coming off with everyone else who's been waiting in line, and now you're moving in this massive group throughout the park. Your goal at Animal Kingdom is to get ahead of them. Here's the split strategy. So if you are early entry, if you have the resort, your resort guest, you're on site and you can get into early entry, again, you're going to want to get there 30 minutes early. Then it is okay to go do Flight of Passage first thing right out of the gates, beat everyone on there. It's a long load and unload ride, so it's going to probably take you at least 20 minutes, if not more, and you're going to use up the majority of that 30 minutes. From there, we're going to tell you immediately leave the area unless Na'vi River Journey's less than 10 minutes and you can get on real quick. And we're going to tell you then to go to the safari out in Africa. And the reason is the safari first thing in the morning is one of the best rides because the animals are up and active because they want to be fed. And it's cool during the morning, so they like to be out and about. So you're going to see great animals. But as the day goes on, this ride becomes the longest wait time in the park and easily can get up to 2 hours in length. And the queue is outdoors. So you're going to be baking in the sun. Now, for those of you that are off resort, our rope drop strategy is you go straight to the safari in the morning. Usually the first 30 minutes of the day, the safari line is less than 20 minutes. It's usually about 10 to 15. And about 30 minutes after park opening, that goes up to about 45 minutes to an hour very quickly. And it will stay there, if not higher, the rest of the day. So you want to get that done first thing in the morning. Again, you're going to see great animals. You're going to see them getting fed and being active. And it's a great way to start your day. But then when you come off the ride, again, you're going to work clockwise through the park. You can go over to either the Kali River Rapids or you can go over to Expedition Everest and ride that roller coaster. And you're going to stay ahead of that mob that I was talking about who are all over in the Pandora Flight of Passage area. So if you stay ahead of them and work your way clockwise through the park, eventually in early afternoon, you can go back into the Pandora area. And the wait time is going to be about an hour, maybe 45 minutes if you're lucky. So knowing that, I will tell you that you're going to get a shorter wait time throughout your day because that's very similar to what you're going to get through traditional rope drop. So that is the best strategies. Hit the safari first thing in the morning, work your way clockwise through the park. Let's go over to Hollywood Studios next. And if you heard our last episode on our summer update, Disney really messed everything up with rope drop over at Hollywood Studios. In fact, it is awful. It is the worst structure, the worst setup I've seen. They are getting lots of negative feedback on this, including from myself and others. And so I guarantee that this is probably something that's going to change in the next, I'd say 6 to 9 months is my guess. They will go back to what it was before, which is rope drop takes place outside of the park. And then once you're in, it's a free for all. What has changed is they're now letting everyone into the park. But if you are not on resort, you can't get back into certain areas of the park, which that's normal. But you also can't get any food. You can't do any shopping. You can't do anything unless you're a resort guest. So they keep you out of all the commerce pieces, which really stinks because if you're hungry and want to get something to eat or drink, you can't. What you're doing instead is you're going to head towards your rides that you want to ride, and they're going to have a separate queue for you that you can wait in if you are a non-resort guest. So here is our strategy for Hollywood Studios. So with early entry, my recommendation is if you have early entry, again, get there 30 minutes early. You're going to go in and you are going to go straight for Slinky Dog Dash if that is a ride you want to do. And the reason I recommend that is because that one also is an outdoor queue that will get upwards of 2 hours plus throughout the day, and that one will never come back down. So I recommend if you're interested in riding Slinky Dog Dash, you go do that first thing as a rope drop guest. And then from there, what I would do immediately after that is I would go do Midway Mania, since you're right there, it's right across the path, and do the Toy Story rides and knock all of those out. And then, of course, you want to work your way into other areas of the park as the park opens. Now, if you are an off-resort guest like us, what I'm going to recommend is you're going to go to the Tower of Terror. You're going to go to the right as soon as you go in and go get the Tower of Terror done, followed by Rocking Roller Coaster. Now, the Rock and Roller Coaster is going to be rebranded, as you guys know, with the Muppets, and that's going to be a great new theming. But traditionally, because the load times are so slow getting off and on the Tower of Terror, that line will build up much quicker than the Rock and Roller Coaster. So you're going to want to do Tower of Terror. Hopefully it has what they call a 13-minute wait, which means no wait at all. You're going to get in and out of there. It's going to take about 20 minutes. When you go to Rock and Roller Coaster, it hopefully will have a 20 to 30-minute wait, and you're going to do that. And then you can come back and work your way through Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, as well as Toy Story Land, and then Black Spire Outpost. Now, a lot of people are going to run for the Star Wars Land because that's your big marquee rides over there. Those are the big ones that everyone wants to do. And we agree, those are fantastic rides. But just like our other strategies, your wait time, if you're at Rope Drop and you're at the front of the pack, may be 45 minutes to an hour long, where if you wait till later in the day, it's probably going to be about the same wait time at that point in time. We recommend do these other rides first because they're going to get up to 45 minutes to an hour as the day goes on. Knock them out when they're all 10 or 15 minutes or less. And then you're going to go do an hour over there at Star Wars Land anyway. That is our recommendation there. Now, the only caveat on Hollywood Studios is my recommendation for the best food is the breakfast Ronto wraps over in the Star Wars Land in the Black Spire Outpost. So if that's something you're interested in, what I highly recommend is if you have someone in your group that doesn't want to ride the roller coasters, have them go get the breakfast for you and bring it back while you do the roller coasters and enjoy that as you make your way through the park. Now, at Epcot actually has a lot of really good strategies you can deploy here. And there's really not a bad strategy to do at this park. Now, I am going to give you a couple important tips about Epcot, but the good thing about Epcot is it has 4 really big rides that people like to do. And so Rope Drop is more sporadic over at Epcot than it is at the other parks. Now, for early entry, I'm going to tell you, regardless if you're early entry or regardless if you're off resort, the strategy that we use is going to be exactly the same. So when you get to the park, again, you want to get there 30 minutes early. You want to make your way into the park. You are going to want to head towards Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. This is going to be long line. It's going to get upwards of probably 90 minutes to 2 hours early in the day. And it's going to stay there most of the day until very late in the afternoon, where it comes down usually to under an hour as people work their way out of the park. Because the other rides will escalate as well, very similarly, we say go do Guardians first. And the second reason for that is a lot of people want to do this ride multiple times in the day. And I will tell you, you do not want to do this twice back to back. With the spinning motion of the cars, a lot of people can't take 2 rides back to back. So if you do it early in the day and then you do it late in the day, your body has a little bit of time to recover. So we recommend Guardians of the Galaxy first in the morning. From there, what we like to do is we like to cut across and do Soarin' and then make our way through the rest of the front of the park. And the reason we do Soarin' second is that one has the longest load and unload time again, and that line gets very long, very quick. Your other rides, Living with the Land, The Living Seas with Finding Nemo, Journeying to Imagination with Figment, Mission Space, Spaceship Earth, those ones are going to have typically shorter lines. And there are times around 11 in the morning, maybe noon, that some of those will peak and you'll get up to 30 or 45 minutes. But we're going to tell you at that point of the day, make your way back into the World Showcase, start eating your way through the World Showcase and checking out the rides back there. And then in the afternoon, they're short again. So we say knock out all the front of the park and then go to the back. Now, our favorite thing is going through and doing Test Track or doing Ratatouille using the single rider line. The queuing's not much different. Your ride is going to be exactly the same. You're not going to miss anything. And with single rider, you're going to wait a fraction of the time doing that. The only ride that's you're pretty much guaranteed to wait on is going to be Frozen Ever After over in Norway. And that one just is what it is. It's a tough ride to get through the queue just because the queue is so small and they give away so many lightning lanes that wait time is going to be a little bit longer, but you're going to deal with that whether it's at Rope Drop or later in the day. So we say save that for when you're doing the World Showcase and you get there. We like to, again, work at the front of the park and then work your way to the back. and start with Guardians every single time, regardless if you're on resort or not. Finally, that brings me now to Magic Kingdom. Now, like all of our other parks, we do have different strategies for if you're on a resort versus off resort. But on our previous episode, we gave you multiple rope drop strategies. That has changed now. Now we're only going to give you one rope drop strategy each way because we have found that these rope drop strategies are the best way to go. Okay. So if you're going to get there for early park entry, again, you want to get there even more than 30 minutes early because you're going to have to go through the ticket transportation center and take the monorail or the boats over to Magic Kingdom. And that's going to take a little bit longer to get through security in the turnstiles. But when you get in, if you have early park entry, you are going to want to go to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train first every single time. And the reason you're going to want to do Seven Dwarfs Mine Train first is this has one of the longer waits during the day, but it also has a tendency to go down a lot in the afternoon due to the rain. Being an outdoor roller coaster, if the rain comes in, they do shut this ride down, and you may miss it with the Orlando rain in the afternoon. So we recommend doing that one first thing in the morning. When you come off, if you're able to do it quickly, then we would recommend going to Peter Pan and working your way through the rest of Fantasyland and getting that land done and getting out of there, and then going to any ride of your choice after that, just to knock out that side of the park because that gets very crowded and busy as the day goes on. Now, for non-resort guests such as myself, our strategy is completely different. And what I'm going to tell you is you're going to want to go over towards Adventure and Frontierland first in the morning. And I'm going to tell you, you want to do one of two things. And it's depending on whether or not you want to ride Tiana's. If you want to ride Tiana's, which is the reimagined Splash Mountain, so you could get wet, I recommend doing that first thing in the morning because it has been opened for the early morning guests. Meaning that if you go to rope drop at the normal opening time, no one's there yet. So you could potentially walk straight onto this ride. So we would recommend doing that first thing in the morning if it is open and if you definitely want to ride that ride. Now, if you don't want to get wet and you want to skip it, then I'm going to tell you to go to the Jungle Cruise. And from there, you're going to work through Jungle Cruise, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Haunted Mansion. If you did Tiana's, then the path is the same. You're going to come off and work your way through Jungle Cruise, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Haunted Mansion as well. Again, your goal is to knock out sections of the park, and you're going to want to do the Adventureland Frontierland side first because no one's been over there in the morning, and those rides all have a very low wait time. But about 90 minutes after park opening, those rides are all going to have a 45-minute to an hour-long wait. Now, a lot of people ask us, why wouldn't you go do Tron first? And again, Tron is going to have a 90 to 120-minute wait right at rope drop. And though you could be towards the front of the pack and maybe get through it in 60, by about 2 in the afternoon, it's going to be down to 60 anyways, and will drop to 45 later in the day, maybe even 30 if you're lucky. So what we say is go knock out Adventureland and Frontierland, get all that done. From there, I would probably go to Fantasyland, do rides like The Little Mermaid, do Winnie the Pooh, do, if you can, Mine Train, if that one's still going, do Peter Pan, go do some eating, go do some shopping. You work your way either through the circus in the back corner or over towards Tomorrowland, and then you can finish up with Tron. Again, if you really like Tron and Tron's a great roller coaster, that's one you can ride twice in a row and probably not get sick on. So you could do it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe with a 45-minute wait, come off, maybe you go get something to eat, and you can go back and do it again immediately, knowing that you're waiting shorter for Tron at that point in the day than if you rope dropped it, and you knocked out all those Adventure and Frontierland rides out early in the day. That's going to save you a ton of time. Now, you'll notice there were rides I omitted throughout this whole episode, including things like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad and some of the other rides like Dinosaur that are currently closed. As those open back up, of course, those are going to be very busy. I would recommend incorporating those. But this is the strategy for 2025 right now, as those rides are currently closed. So that's our recommendation for going to Magic Kingdom. Now, let's talk about our 2 I can do this all day tips of the day. The first one, I've talked about this on multiple episodes. You heard me mention it probably a couple times on this one, but I'm going to tell you, you never, ever want to rope drop a ride that has a single rider line unless it's a must hit. And the only one that'll carve out and say you could do is Hagrid's Motorbike at Islands of Adventure if you have early park access, just because that one can be long for single rider as well. But you never want to rope drop a ride that has single rider. And the reason is you can always come back later in the day and do single rider, and your wait is going to be a fraction of what it is for any of the other standard queue times and what those are. So for example, like Test Track had a wait time of 90 to 100 minutes when we were there a couple of weeks ago. And when we went and did it, we stood in single rider and our wait time was closer to 20 minutes. Again, we stood together as a family. We got all the way to the front. We talked all the way through the queue like we normally would. Yes, we sat on different cars, but we weren't going to sit there and hold hands on the ride and talk about the ride while we were on it. So we all got on the ride. In fact, we got in multiple cars right in a row. We did the ride. We all came off together and were able to keep going and talk about the ride and what the cool parts of it were now that it's been redone. And we saved ourselves probably at least 45 minutes to an hour by doing it that way. So I will tell you that anytime you can use single rider, you definitely want to do it unless you have very little kids. Another great example was Ratatouille over at Epcot, also at Epcot because that's where Test Track is. And at Ratatouille, the wait time was close, I want to say, to about 60 minutes. And we walked in and we were like fifth in line for single rider, and we got on within about 5 or 7 minutes. You definitely want to use single rider every time that you can. Our second tip of the day is if you are a planner. So if you're like me, I'm the type of person, I want to plan everything out. I want to think about what order I want to do things, what my strategy is, and I feel better about my day. I feel more secure when I do that. I'm going to tell you that I have learned that there are some really cool heat maps online. So you can Google it. You can Google heat map wait times for whatever park. You can put whatever park in there. And you want to do it put this year, like this month. So you could say for August of 2025 at Magic Kingdom. And you're going to get these images that show you a heat map of what the wait times were for each ride during the day. And what a heat map is, it gives you red, yellow, green. Of course, in the morning, most rides are green, and then they get more yellow and red as the day goes on. And then your famous rides, your big rides that everyone rope drops, start red, and then they get lighter. Your goal is to look at the heat map and make a path between these rides that you're in the green. So you're going to show from 9 to 10 a.m., these 4 or 5 rides are all in the green. And if they're all in the same part of the park, those are the ones I want to do. From 10 to 11, now you've got a couple others that are still green in a different part. I'm going to go do those. And then as the day goes on, my bigger rides are going to start dipping into the yellows and green. And that's when I want to hit those in the afternoon. So that's a really good visual way to map out your day and how you can be successful with the lowest wait times. But trust me when I say, if you can save 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there, you're going to add up a lot of time, a few hours every single day in these parks. And you're going to be able to skip a lot of the wait times by following this strategy. So it's highly recommended. Of course, it's never perfect. There are times that we will rope drop. For example, we rope dropped Tiana's when we were at Magic Kingdom, and the ride was not open when we first got over there. So we changed gears. We went and did Jungle Cruise. We came back over because as soon as we got on Jungle Cruise and we're going through the river, it opened up. So we came right back over. Our wait time was about 10 minutes. We got on Tiana's, went and did Pirates, came back, did Haunted Mansion. And we did all that probably in the first 80 minutes of the day, and then started working our way through the rest of the park, knocking out a whole section of the park. So I can tell you these strategies work, but again, they're not perfect if rides go. Coming up, we're going to be doing episodes again on Epic Universe, our review there, our rope drop strategy for Epic Universe. We're going to give you some tips and tricks on Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. And then I'm going to do an episode on the best days to visit each of the parks. So that's going to be coming your way as well. So again, you're going to want to definitely subscribe. And we look forward to talking to you at that point in time. So we wish you a magical week as you're planning your next vacation, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.